this guy won't stop talking, and I'm referring to Alec Baldwin, who is the subject of a criminal investigation, or one of the subjects of a criminal investigation related to the shooting on the set of the movie Rust. I've done a couple videos on it. You've seen it. You've heard of it. If you haven't, I'll put a video linked above. So, in the movie, he had a single-shot revolver, a Colt 45, a replica Colt 45. And we know the story that Helena Hutchins was shot and killed, and another person was shot and injured. And the question is, how did that live round get on set? And more importantly, how did the people who handled the guns, or the gun in this case, not check to see if it was loaded? The first rule of firearm safety is treat every gun as it's loaded, right? So yesterday on ABC, and it's on Hulu as well if you want to stream it, it was a piece by George Stephanopoulos, and he interviewed Alec Baldwin. It's called Unscripted, and I just watched it. It's 45 minutes long, and it's a fluff piece. And what Alec Baldwin is doing in the entire thing is this. It's everybody else's responsibility and job to ensure that that gun was unloaded, and it wasn't his responsibility, and he's not responsible. And in one of the first things he said in this interview is he didn't want to make it sound like he's the victim. But throughout the interview, that's exactly what he did. It wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. I didn't hire these people. Blah, 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 blah. If you want to, you want to subject yourself to the interview, again, it's streaming on Hulu on ABC. Total fluff piece to make make people feel sorry for Alec Baldwin. Well, I'm going to tell you what. If the 4 basic firearm safety rules had been followed, this could not have happened. Regardless of what kind of ammo was on the set, it could not have happened. Now, I realize on a movie set, you may have to point firearms at people, and I realize at a movie set you can't be, to worry. You can't be insured of what your target, what's behind your target, especially if you're shooting in an old wooden church like this. But you always check your firearm. I do it. And most people who handle guns regularly do it. Now, this guy's claiming, Baldwin in this interview, he's 40 years, he's handled the guns more than just about anybody else in Hollywood with an average career. Well, he violated it, and he says that he doesn't check guns, and he said it on this interview. And he also said that he didn't pull the trigger. Now, he went through and detailed how he was holding the gun, and how Helena Hutchins was telling him where to hold it and stuff like that. He also asked her if he should cock the hammer, because that's what the scene called for, and she agreed. So he described how he cocked the hammer back, but not all the way to where it locks in the cocked position, and then eventually, when she told him to ride it forward a little bit, he let go of it, and that's when the gun went off. And he seems like this is like the gun just went off on its own. It's not. That was negligence. I don't know if I can show it now with the new rules on YouTube, but here we go. I have a revolver, and what you just heard me do is open my cylinder to make sure that it is totally safe. Even though I know this is mine, it came from my safe, I always check everything every time. And what he is describing is how he rocked the hammer back, and just before it cocked into position, and then eventually let it go, and then the gun went off. And that's what happens with revolvers. That hammer it strikes the primer, because the firing pin's on the hammer, and we know what happens. So it is negligence by a lot of people. And this interview coincides with the search warrant that was done this week. It's come out on, they're trying to figure out how that ammunition, that live ammo, got on the set. Now, Tuesday, a search warrant was conducted on a supplier, the supplier for the film, and was a prop business called PDQ Arm and Prop LLC. The warrant says that the live ammo could have come from Fel Reed, who is Hannah Gutierrez Reed's father. He has been he's been the armor on several Hollywood films. I think it's just short of 50. I wasn't really counting. I just went off what it looked like on his information sheet. And they're saying that could have come from him. How? Well, the warrant goes through and says that ammunition that Fel had brought to a previous film, another set, might have made its way to this set. And those rounds were live. And how? Well, that's by the owner of the supplier to the Rust film, the owner of PDQ Arm and Prop LLC, whose name is Seth Kenney, Kenney. Now I'm going to read this part. I'll put it here on the screen. Fel Reed told investigators a few months ago he and Kenney were working together and were part of firearms training with the actors. Kenney, the owner of the prop company, asked Fel Reed, the armorer, to bring live ammunition. When production ended, Fel said Kenney took the ammo, and after several attempts to get it back, he told Fel to write it off. So that establishes a chain of custody for those live rounds to get at least into the ownership of the owner of the prop company that supplied rounds to the set of Rust. Now, according to the investigation and the search warrant, the police, when they interviewed Hannah Gutierrez Reed, she said that Kenney was the supplier of the rounds for the set, the dummy rounds, and they were made by a company called Starline Brass. So while the investigation is ongoing, there at least is a chain of custody on how potentially, they're not saying that the round actually came from there yet, but potentially how it could have gotten on set, which would also lead to a lot of people being culpable here. The armorer is supposed to ensure no live rounds are on set, on property, on scene. The armorer is supposed to ensure the firearm is unloaded and safe when handed to the actor. The actor on many scenes, even George Clooney's come out and said, on every scene, every time I'm handed a firearm, even though I'm told it's safe and cold, he removes the magazine, locks the action open, and shows it to the people he's going to be pointing it at so that everybody knows that it's safe. And other actors have come out and said that as well. And that's like treating every firearm as it's loaded, right? That's the first golden rule of firearms. It's so basic that if it was done, nobody would have gotten hurt. Now, like I said, there's a lot of finger pointing going on in lawsuits that have been filed on the civil side as well. But for anybody who's been involved in a criminal investigation, the main rule to follow is shut the F up, right? You have a right to remain silent, and you should always exercise that right. And it's up to your attorney on when you should speak and what you should say. And if Baldwin's attorney has told him to do this piece, I don't know, he's trying to point a finger at everybody else, but Baldwin even said he rocked that or semi-cocked that trigger, the hammer, and let it go forward. So he's telling you that what he did caused the gun to go off, even though he's saying nothing he did set the gun off. It was not his responsibility. The guy just can't shut up, and he probably should. Now, let me know what you think about this whole mess, this murky incident, and also I want your opinion. I want to know your thought process. If this was anybody else but an actor who is cherished by the left, the anti-gun movement, do you think he would be allowed to still be doing anything he wanted freely? I mean, we have somebody in Wisconsin who was on video protecting his own life and did what he had to do, but he sat in a jail cell for months. Yet Baldwin is traveling across the country, and I don't know. Let me know what you think down below. I think this whole thing is, I don't know. I just thought I'd put it out there that this guy is saying he didn't pull the trigger, and myself, I have said guns just don't go off on their own. But in the case of a revolver, what Baldwin said on the interview would explain how it went off if he in fact didn't pull the trigger. If he let the hammer fly forward and slap that round in the primer, it will go off, which shows he has no training and education on firearms. And if they did that on the set, if we did that more with each other, not just in this scenario because something bad happened, if we all did it more with each other, took our friends, family, neighbors out and taught them firearm safety, maybe we wouldn't be as behind the eight ball with this anti-gun attack. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it more than you know. Please subscribe to the channel if you want news and information on the Second Amendment, no matter where it happens, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. And until we see each other again, be safe, stay vigilant, and carry a gun to keep you, yourself, your friends, your family safe. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.